What if the person you're sacrificing everything for sacrificed nothing for you? What if the hands you now hold steady were the same ones that pushed you away? What if the person you now feed, dress, and protect is someone who never protected you? This is not a caregiving story that gets told very often. It's raw, it's painful, and it's real. Hi, I'm Rick Henkin. My wife Sonia was diagnosed with Alzheimer's in January 2020 at the age of 65. I've seen too many caregivers suffer physically, emotionally, and mentally, oftentimes more than the loved ones they care for. I was determined not to let this disease take me down, and I found a way to cope. Now I help other caregivers do the same. Many caregivers today, especially adult children, find themselves in the heartbreaking position of taking care of a parent, step-parent, or relative who is emotionally neglectful, cold, or even abusive in the past. And now, in their time of decline, the burden falls on you to show up with compassion. But how do you do that when part of you still feels the sting of what they did or didn't do? This is where caregiving becomes more than an act of love. It becomes a test of emotional endurance, moral wrestling, and deep inner conflict. Here's the unspoken truth behind many caregiving situations. Not all families are close. Not all parents were loving. Not all relationships are built on mutual care. And yet, when illness strikes, especially something as demanding as Alzheimer's or dementia, many adult children feel an unspoken obligation to step in. They do it because it's the right thing, because no one else will, because society tells them they must. But no one talks about the emotional whiplash of that role reversal, especially when the past is riddled with pain. The child who was dismissed now becomes the advocate. The one who felt invisible now becomes the sole provider. The one who grew up walking on eggshells now walks into their home each day to deliver care. Caregiving isn't just physical labor, it's emotional labor. And when you're asked to give that labor to someone who never gave to you, it stirs up everything. Grief for what never was, anger at what should have been, resentment for the current burden, and guilt for even feeling all of the above. But here's the truth. You're not a bad person for struggling with this. You can both resent the past and still choose to show up today. You can have boundaries without bitterness, and you can care out of personal values, not because the person deserves it, but because you decided what kind of human you want to be. One of the most damaging myths in caregiving is that it should fix the relationship, that somehow, through service and sacrifice, all those old wounds will be healed. But real healing doesn't always require closeness, and reconciliation isn't always possible or even healthy. You do not need to reopen emotional wounds just because you're opening the medicine cabinet. You do not have to rehash trauma just because you're helping them bathe. You are allowed to care and still protect your heart. Let's be clear, forgiveness is not the same as approval. It's not forgetting, and it's certainly not saying it's okay. Sometimes forgiveness is simply saying, this pain no longer gets to own me. Forgiveness is letting go of the hope that the past could have been different and choosing to free yourself from it. But it's also okay if you're not there yet. Healing is not a checklist, it's a process. And you are allowed to be exactly where you are. You have the right to set boundaries. You do not have to be all things to all people, especially not someone who once harmed you. Here are a few boundaries that are perfectly valid in these situations. Time boundaries. I'll visit twice a week, but I need weekends for myself. Emotional boundaries. I can help with your physical care, but I won't engage in old arguments. Support boundaries. I'm willing to coordinate care, but not provide it alone. Boundaries are not acts of selfishness. They are acts of self-preservation. They protect you from burnout, resentment, and re-traumatization. This is not about being a martyr. Some caregivers fall into a dangerous trap of believing they must suffer to do it right. They say things like, I guess this is just my cross to bear. Maybe I'm finally earning their love. Maybe now they'll see I was worth something. But caregiving should never be a path to emotional redemption or revenge. You are already worthy. You're not here to rewrite history. You're here to write a better ending for yourself. This kind of caregiving is a special kind of heavy. It takes more than checklists and daily routines. It requires emotional armor and a place to put that armor down. If this is your story, you need more than tips and tricks. You need real tools for managing guilt, anger, grief, and boundary setting. That's why resources like the Caregiver Mastery System exist, to help you navigate the emotional storms of caregiving, especially when the relationship is complicated. You don't have to do this alone, and you don't have to white-knuckle your way through it. There is help. There is healing. There is hope. Have you ever cared for someone who never cared for you? What emotions did it bring up, and how did you manage them? Let's start a real conversation in the comments below. Your story might help someone else feel seen. If you're feeling overwhelmed, exhausted, or like you're losing yourself in caregiving, you're not alone. That's exactly why I created the Caregiver Mastery System, a step-by-step emotional roadmap to help you manage stress, anger, and burnout so you can care for your loved one without sacrificing yourself in the process. Inside, you'll discover how to say yes to yourself without guilt, reduce overwhelm, and reclaim peace even in the hardest moments. I call this Heaven Island, a place of calm and clarity where you can show up for the one you love without losing who you are. And just so you know, this isn't some time-consuming program. I didn't create it to add more to your plate. I built it to take the weight off your shoulders. The lessons are short, practical, and easy to follow. And if you apply what I teach, even for just a few minutes a day, I guarantee you'll start to feel a real difference in 2 to 3 weeks. Click the link below or visit caregivermasterysystem.com to get started today. If this video helped you, please like, share, and subscribe. I post new caregiver support videos every Monday and Thursday. And if this message spoke to you, use the hashtag Caregiver Mastery so others can find the support they need too. You're not alone. Let's get through this together.